guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have A Daughter of Trolls by Mckenzie Catron. So this is the first unplugged book box, their young adult box I believe, where they had a full edition and they went all out with this book. So actually this is the cover, completely different to the original. And then we have these sprayed edges as well, these stencil edges. These are just amazing. We do have the book back bit, so this is like a synopsis. Let me just get that. Are you afraid of the boogeyman? 18-year-old Sparrow can't remember a time when she wasn't, and neither can her mother, or the trolls, imps, gnomes, or fairies who live in the glade and call it their home. Though Sparrow's weak heart keeps her wheelchair bound, she and her mother have dedicated their lives to keep the glade safe, especially from the worst bogeyman of them all, the skin-stealing, poison-ingesting witch called Black Anus. But one night, Sparrow makes a terrible mistake, and everything she once held dear is taken from her. The glade is no longer a sanctuary, and the only way Sparrow can save her mother and her friends is to journey out to the monster-ridden world that wasn't made for her or her wheelchair. So joined by her half-goblin friend, Rush, Sparrow will have to confront her fears before the ones they love are lost forever. So Rush is the guy is the one that Sparrow actually likes. So anyway, we do have a little author letter. Boom. So we have a little thing here. Beware, traveller. Guide your heart. Listen for death's weeping, for she mourned the hour she embraced the daughter of Troll. And then, boom, we have stuff on the edge of the book. The hardback, I think this is pretty, so if you want it on its own. Look how that is. And then you have the reverse dust jacket as well. I can never put these dust jackets properly on, like this way round. I'm always afraid, so I just leave them how it normally is. But I look at these creatures, these moths looking things. And here is Sparrow and Rush. Oh. I really enjoyed this book, because it's about a girl who struggles her way through life and battle her fears in a wheelchair, basically. And she finds out that there's a lot of things about her that she doesn't realise actually makes sense to her, will start to make sense. So her mother is a human, so is she. So basically her mother was raised by trolls. So now that's the getting of the daughter of trolls. But we find out slowly that she's not human. Now read the book to find out what she really is, guys, because it does take the turn. I actually love the plot of this book. It's different to what I have read normally. Like I said, it's literally very entertaining. It's very well written. I literally had to be very slow, because the pages got stuck together a lot, so I had to slowly take them apart. And I felt like I was ripping them because it just sounded the crackling sound. I was like, oh. And then the spine was going a bit up as well. Even though this is a very small story, there's a lot that's been told in this story as well, because you don't realise what's going on, what she goes through for being in a wheelchair. There's a lot of things going through, her wheelchair doesn't go through the forest very well. She's meant to stay at home and stay safe. Her mother gets taken from this witch who kills and rips gnomes to apart and other creatures until they're dead. I was like, charming. And she seems to have kidnapped her, does something to her mum. Her mum, she tries to find a way to get to her mum, but other things happen. And so many things I love about this book, from the tentrous main character Sparrow to the evil Black Anus, which, while this is a fantasy book, it definitely felt slightly just a bit darker and more the adventure side, just fairies and magic. So the author pulled a lot of inspo from old European folklore, and I can definitely feel it. I loved it. It's definitely one of those that you can't put down. Such an amazing ending. I was impressed by this book. At first I was like, it does sound interesting and intriguing when I read the synopsis. And then as I've got through the book, I was like, oh, okay, I actually like this. This is a really interesting book. What can it give me? It was a journey that headed up to straight one-day read. Because, well, it's just constant. You're like, oh, what's going to happen next? What's this? it just kept going and going and going, and you're like, oh my god, pages just turned and turned and turned. You just don't want to stop reading. So then obviously, like I said, we follow a girl named Sarah whose weak heart keeps her in a wheelchair bound, pretty much. She makes a terrible mistake, puts her family and friends at risk, which I feel really bad for, but she didn't mean to, and she's like, it's my fault, I shouldn't do this, and her mother's like, no, it's not your fault, don't worry, just stay in this house. So, not many first lines stick out to me in my head, but this one is not one I'm going to forget anytime soon, and did not disappoint. Every day while reading, every hour, should I say, every day, every hour I was reading, I just couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't wait to keep just carrying going into the story. There's something compelling about this book that the author has written in the style of this to make the villains' characters particularly creepy, but at the same time, the general rule where I think is the biggest fan of this book. However, I was all in for the adventure of this book, and on top of it all, I felt that this is a debut novel by Catron, and literally the book was just amazing. I don't know what else to say. I'm just starstruck by how well this book was written. But I can't speak on the actual disability because it's represented within this book. However, I wanted to point out that the author herself is a wheelchair bound in a very similar way to the main character. This led me to believe that while this may not be accurate for everyone's reading, it's definitely accurate for some. And because of it, I felt the conversation had a lot important to this book. So knowing a lot about your author, it's definitely intriguing to know that. I know the story, to know that to this, and it's one of my favourite books so far, I think. That's a lot to put through in all the other books I've read and I really enjoyed. This is definitely going to be one of my top books. But yeah. Sorry, I just yawned. But I really enjoyed this book, guys. If you haven't got time to read this, get yourself this book and read it. I mean, it's worth the while. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Bye.